So like I said, feedback will come after the sessions for today at the end of the second session. So I'm hoping that by the time we're done, you must have learned a thing or two, to incorporate in your ideas, right? So we'll just move into our session for today on storytelling and advocacy. And at this point, I'll hand over to the moderator for the rest of the program. Once again, welcome everybody and have a great time with me.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Ludo.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And it was a wonderful session receiving a plan from the participants. I want to move right away into the first session for today, which is the session on the theme storytelling for advocacy. Storytelling for advocacy. And our facilitator for this session will be Mubarak Idris. Mubarak Idris is a digital development advocate with over 5 years experience, and he is a consultant for Changemaker Exchange, and he actively promotes girl child education, social justice, climate resiliency, youth empowerment, and peace building. Mubarak is a fellow of the European Union Youth Sounding Board and the US Department of State's Community Engagement Exchange Program. Let's make a virtual round of applause for our facilitator for today. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And please let me know if you can hear me by dropping an emoji. That would be really great. Thank you. All right then, perfect. So I'm going to be telling a lot of stories today, and I see that I have about, let's say, 25 minutes to do justice to this program. And I'd like to tell you how my own journey started. So in 2018, I had just started my master's program in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. And a friend of mine called me and he told me that he wanted to start, advocating for something. At that point, what we wanted to advocate for was good governance. But then again, it's not so easy advocating for good governance without thinking about lining your pockets. So we got an opportunity by an organization called the Population Reference Bureau to basically just make one multimedia product. It could be a video or it could be, carousel content, which is quite famous on Instagram, to basically showcase any issue in our community that we felt was very important for us to tell a story about. And so that's how, I told my first story about Zainab, who at that time was a divorcee at the age of 15. And we went to meet her in a community called Farirua in Kano State. And she basically didn't have anything to do. So at that point, it was like she had left 2 marriages and then she was looking forward to the next one because that's the only thing that she knows about in her community. So if we could move to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, I think this is slide 1. I was hoping you can move to slide 2. Can anyone hear me? Okay, great. Yeah. So I like to call people out, especially when we're in a virtual space. So I'd like to call on Sephora. If you could step into the world of any book or story, where would you go and what role would you play in that narrative? Okay, if Sephora is not available, I was wondering if Victor could, answer that question.
Okay, around if I was in such a position or state, I'll actually be like I want to be the role model. Like I want the story to be all about me. Yes, all about me. You should be surrounded around me. That's just it. You know.
Can you give an example of any book or story that you have seen like that?
Okay. The Lion and the Jewel about Lakunle and CD the Jewel. Yes, I want to be that type of person like CD in the story. Yeah.
Okay, then so you see yourself in that story. So the reason why a story is very powerful is simply because of this. It gives you an idea about what the future would be. It gives you an idea about the person's values, and it gives you about what you should expect from that person. Steve Jobs was actually not a developer in any way. He didn't, code or anything, but there was one thing he was able to do. He was able to show you that we could be able to do all the thinking for you. All you need to do is get one of our products. And the way he did it was actually building an ecosystem around that particular product. So when you're talking about advocacy, the thing is that our attention span is actually getting very low day by day. And we need to understand that, the further we move, we're definitely going to see a lot of things. So when you're telling a story, you should understand that people's attention span is very, very low. And what you can do is to make sure that you are able to make people focus on it. I mean, these days we have very, very short adverts. Even if you're, watching YouTube, you can see that the ads are very short and they do not bore you, but they're able to sell their message immediately. The important thing you need to understand about storytelling is that you're competing for attention. You're not competing for money. And the funny thing about attention is that if someone spends a lot of time on you, they're more willing to, support your cause or even spend some money to, push forward to that cause. I don't know why I can't see the slides again, but is it okay if I just continue or is something being done about it? Hello, Aundo, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me, please? I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Would the slide be put up or I'm allowed to continue?
You should continue. I'll try to fix that.
Oh, okay then. Perfect. So it's very important that, when you want to tell a story, that you understand specifically what you're going for. And that's the reason why I told you that, the most important thing is actually the attention that you're going to get from people, right? So why do you need to do that? The first thing is that people will come along with a lot of things. There's a lot of fake products out there. There's a lot of stories that some of them are untrue. And for you to be able to tell a very good story, one thing you need to do is to build credibility. And credibility simply means that you mean what you say and you do specifically what you're going to do. There was one of the presenters who just started, and then there was one profound thing he mentioned that he wanted to start with advocating for the entire Benue state, but then he chose Boko community. I had not heard about that community before, but now I know about it. So he has focused my attention on a particular place, and that builds more credibility because I can try to paint an image of what he is talking about. The other thing is accuracy. A lot of times we like to pick our data from, UNICEF and very, very big organizations. I'm not saying that is bad, but what I'm saying is that if you tell me that, take for example, 10 million girls are out of school, the first question I want to ask is how many girls can you be able to access or are you willing to put into school, right? There is always a problem to solve in a country like ours in Nigeria, but you should be able to be very specific about what you want to do and how you want to go about it. So if you want to focus on primary school, even if it's from primary 3 to 5, that is fine. If you want to, focus on getting people who are unable to access funding for JAMB registration, you should be very specific about that. So you're telling a story, and it really helps you further when you're trying to build up on that story. Another thing is depth and nuance. A lot of us do not like investing our money or our time in shallow things, right? Except maybe, you want to go for a specific social media buzz. But if you want to really make people care, you need to make sure that they understand where you're coming from and the specific thing that you want to do. A very great example will be Tunde Onakoya, the founder of Chess and Slums, right? One thing that he has been able to do is to craft a specific narrative that he wants to use chess to actually bring about change. And how is he going about it? He's not going to play chess in Victoria Island. He's going to play it in places where he would see some specific people that if they're not playing chess at that point, they might be doing something else. So that moves me to my next slide. And it's important for you to be very personal when you're sharing your story. Being personal does not mean telling people about what you ate in the morning or your suffering. I don't think it should be a competition for suffering whenever you're trying to make change. And it will really help you if you really want to do this for a long while to be very specific about how you want to go about sharing your personal story and then talking about the advocacy that you're doing. And I'll give you an example. For me, I talk about my advocacy, right? From the standpoint that this was where I started. And then this was the opportunity that got me into it. And then I decided to start using multimedia content to actually talk about that stuff. But then I'm not going to say that me, myself, I have experience with, not going to school because that is not my own story. I've been very privileged to be able to attend some really great schools. So you do not need to lie and make it look like you have felt the pangs of not having education at that particular point in time. What you're trying to do at this point is to foster empathy. You want people to care, you want people to connect, and you want people to amplify the impact that you're doing. But what you can do is to make it very easy for them. There's a very good YouTube video by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie that talks about, I think is a TED Talk actually. It talks about the danger of a single story. And I'm going to quote specifically what she said, that the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete and they make one story become the only story. And the reason why I'm telling you this is that when you're thinking about advocacy, a lot of times it doesn't really help to always paint a bad narrative. We really want to tell the story that is true and the story that you view as what other people are seeing. So being someone that wants to say, let's say, get schools, let's say clean up an environment, right? If for a particular day, the government decides to clean that place, it's actually important that you tell that story too. Because what you're doing is that you're drafting history about that particular subject in your community. So it doesn't help you to always say things are bad, things are bad, things are bad. Not everyone wants to be seeing bad news all the time. So give a bit of story, which is true about what the government is doing and what the government can improve on. You really want to become an ally of the government. You don't want to, be someone that's been seen as a villain, especially if you want to do advocacy for a long time. So when you're thinking about telling a story, think about the different angles. You should write your story in a way whereby it considers everybody. And that's why you need to do a bit of research. Considers everybody, you think about the unintended consequences, and then you're able to tell that story better. There's a popular story about an international organization that actually went to a riverine community somewhere in South Asia. And due to the fact that it's a riverine community, there were a lot of mosquitoes and all that around, right? But then again, what they did was that they didn't do any community-based assessments about what the people really want. So what they did was that they gave that community mosquito nets, thinking that they were going to use those mosquito nets to, cover themselves when they go to bed. It turns out that those people in that community were largely fishermen or fisherwomen rather, and they needed more nets to do their fishing than to actually, to sleep, because now who don't chop, now ain't go think about how to sleep. So they ended up using those mosquito nets to fish. And mosquito nets are treated, so it made some of the fishes to die. And that just tells you about sometimes you're trying to do good, but the most important thing is that when you want to tell people's story, you allow them to tell their story themselves about what they want. So you may think you know what they want, but if you're not deep into human-centered design of understanding what they want and ensuring that they use it, you really are not telling their story. You're just telling a personal story for yourself. And as an advocate, you should make sure that you stand by the people and you work with them. So that's one important part about telling a story. Another thing you need to do is to build a unique value proposition. And one way that you can do that is to humanize your story. Humanize your story simply means that when I'm interacting your story, I want to see the consequences of what this has cost. Yaga Africa, they were part of, the prominent people advocating for young people to be able to run for political positions. But then again, they did not state the number of young people that are unable to do that. What they told was a particular story of how young people are not able to make decisions. We constitute about 60% of Nigeria's population, but if you don't have young people in those spaces, how do you ensure that they do that? So when you're thinking about any particular course that you're doing, what you should think about is, okay, this is an issue. How do I make it so relatable for someone that if they see anyone passing, they can say that, this person is affected by this issue, and this was what started it. So it's very important that you get towards that level where you're basically able to, connect with people at that deeper level. I'd like to pause here and ask if there's any question at this point in time before I proceed. If I get like 5 thumbs up, I'll just continue. If I get a raised hand, then I'll answer the question. Thank you. Okay, let me just confirm. Can everyone hear me? Okay, Patience can hear me. Thank you very much, Patience. So whenever you're telling your advocacy story, there's something that's also important, right? I was wondering if whoever's controlling the slide could move it to the next one, because that's where I am right now. No, please, the next one. Thank you. Next one, please. Yes, thank you. So another thing is that so the one before that. So another thing is that whenever you're doing your storytelling, it's also important to not just focus on telling your story all the time. You really want to showcase opportunities that people can be able to participate in it. So a very good thing to do is that whenever you're advocating for an issue, take for example, ending poverty, you're able to show people that, okay, this is how I want you to support. This is how I want you to go about telling me what I should do, right? And there are different ways that you could do it. So for this slide, what I'm basically talking about is the importance of you strengthening your story through consistency. And how does that work? The first thing is that you should build a visual identity. And we interact with a lot of products every single day, whether we like it or not. We have visual cues all around. And when we see some particular colors, we can relate it to different things, right? If you see, let's say, a black and white color, you know specifically what you relate to. I mean, black and white color is specific to a particular profession in Nigeria. So if somebody starts wearing black and white and they tell you that they're a carpenter or they tell you that they're an architect, you would have some questions because, you're not very, conversant with that. Another one is for you to have a brand guideline. A lot of times what I've seen some young change makers do is that they're so passionate in some way about the issue to the point where they try to do different things at a time, but you should not do that. Now, what I'm saying is that if you have a logo, right, even if you want to change it, you should not be changing it after every 2 Eke market days. It should have lasted for a long time, and then your rebranding should have to do with the fact that you're moving towards something or you feel that your brand image needs to change. It has to do with the way you share your content, right? It has to do with the way you brand even every visual that goes out. So even if you want to be a little bit stylistic, what you should do is to make sure that when somebody sees a particular flyer from you, they're able to say that, I know where this is coming from. So that's what you need to do. And there are many ways that you could go about it. There are a lot of tools that you could actually use to do that. So if you want to know those tools, I don't think I have the time to go through them, but you can just reach out to me via LinkedIn and I could share something specifically about building a brand identity. So please, when you're sending your message, just don't send hello, say hello, and then talk about the fact that I mentioned I could share something about brand identity. Another thing that's quite important is for you to maintain a social media presence. And when you're maintaining a social media presence, you're basically trying to meet your audience where they are. I used to say that, you just don't open a social media platform because it's popular, right? Because we have a lot of social media apps. So how do you choose the one that is connected to your audience? How do you know the people that are going to support the course that you're going to do? Sorry, if you could just go back to the previous slide. Yes, perfect. So another thing is that you need to understand where your audience is, right? And also the level of shareability that you can get. Are you trying to get them to participate in a challenge? I think the recent challenge that is popular is the Gogongongor, what do you call it, challenge. So are you trying to get them to do that, but you want them to do it based on what you're trying to do? Are you trying to get them to, let's say, come out for a protest, a peaceful protest, I must add? Or are you just trying to get them to know about the issue? So when you understand that, you're able to plan properly. And there's a particular website or organization called Hootsuite, and they publish a very important, social media tool that enables you to understand the number of people that are actually, on different social media platforms. So we know that Facebook has a variety of people. Our grandfathers are there, our fathers and mothers are there. And then we know that Instagram is more by aesthetics. Everybody's showing their soft life. But then again, you still see people trying to get you to understand what they do. Then we know that Twitter is when you want to have like a conversation or you want to organize, let's say, spaces, which is quite popular. So if you want to host the dialogue where you want to get people to know more about a particular story, you may want to do that on either Instagram Live, which is a little bit limited because of, how bad our network can get sometimes, or you may want to do that in, X Spaces or Twitter, as they formerly call it. Another thing that is very important is what I used to say, you need to touch grass whenever you want to do storytelling and advocacy. So you need to go to the community, right? It doesn't really sit well whenever you want to advocate for a particular community and you're not engaging with those people, but you're focused on getting support for those people, right? The reason is because we may think that some people, due to their limited knowledge, do not understand what other people are trying to do or when they're trying to, gain a quick advantage over them. So, but we need to understand that, whenever you're advocating for a community, you need to actually go there, discuss with them, let them know you so that whenever you're bringing that support, they're able to, support you as much as they can. And then they understand that you're not just trying to paint their community as bad. That's why when you're telling the story, you should also tell the good parts and you should not just portray suffering because yes, everybody suffers in one way or the other, but what you're focused on is showing the beauty of that community and how you can support it. Another thing you need to do is analyze your brand equity. And how you can do that is that as much as possible, try to maintain some level of uniqueness, right? If I want to open a company now and I call it Coca-Mola, I would be sued by Coca-Cola because Coca-Mola sounds like Coca-Cola, right? So you need to make sure that whenever you're creating brand equity, it is easily recognizable. When you hear that word, it's very easy. It could even be like an acronym, you understand? So you need to make sure that you've gotten to that level. And also you need to evolve. We're moving towards a place whereby advocacy is actually being done with virtual reality. You need to think about new tools that you want to get to do that. But also, there is no point in actually creating any tool where the people will not be able to use it. If the community you want to advocate for is predominantly using radio, your programs should be specifically on radio. What some people think is that given that most funders do not have the time to listen to the local radio, then all the story they want to tell has to be on social media or a podcast. If you're advocating for a community whereby they don't even have 4G network, and then you want them to listen to a podcast, you'd spend a lot of money trying to get them MP3 players or a phone that can actually do that. Please, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. Perfect. So how do you choose the right social media platform? You need to understand your audience. I know some people might be tempted to say that my audience is everybody in the community, but it should not be. You need to think about who are the specific people that when you want them to support you, they're able to do that. It's called the critical mass of the population. You do not need 99% of the people in that community to support you. What you specifically need is a good amount of people that can stand gidigba with you and tell you that we did for you, right? That is the most important thing. And also, you need to check out the current trends. What is trending at this particular point in time? And how can you use the particular trend to foster your own advocacy? Now, this does not mean jumping on every single trend. And that's why you need a social media specialist or a social media marketer to understand what your goals are. What are you trying to do at this particular point in time? Who are you trying to reach out to? Are you trying to get a lot of young people to participate in a challenge? Are you basically trying to let people know about your branding? Did you just publish a documentary and you want people to listen to it? So once you understand that, you'd be able to get to a point whereby when someone sees your work, they're able to say, I like this. This is very good. So what do I do about it? The most important question that you should be able to evoke with every content that you create is simply a question, what do I want my audience to do about it? You should answer the question, so what? So what do I do? Because there are different ways that they could actually go with that question. But if you're able to guide them that, okay, this is what I want you to do at this particular point in time, and do not request for too much. If I see a very beautiful story and you're telling me to send you 1 million naira because of that story, I will not send it no matter how beautiful it is, right? But then if you're able to say, if you pay, let's say $5 or let's say 5,000 naira, you'd be able to provide a book for somebody that wants to go to school, right? Something as simple as that. Or do you know that if you contribute 10,000 naira to a course, you'd be able to clear a grass of a specific amount of meters? When you commodify it like that, it will even be easier for the person to be like, oh, I supported, so and so in doing this. And if you're able to build that level of credibility, whereby whenever you organize a program, people are able to see that, yes, you actually used their resources and their attention. And I used to say money is a form of attention too, because I know that some people say that the more money somebody spends on you, the more they care about you. That might not be true all the time, but it's definitely a good way to go about caring about things. Next slide, please. I will try to round up very soon. So I talked about community engagement, and you might ask, how do we do community engagement? The first one is that you spotlight a member, and that's very important to, I didn't say the first one, which is there, but I'll go back to that. Member spotlight is very important because people want to know the people in the community. I'd like to just stress that consent is very important whenever you're interacting with people in the community. Some of these people can be very friendly with you that, they'll see it as a way of you amplifying the work that they do. So if you have people in that community that are already strong gatekeepers in that community, you need to spotlight them. You're spotlighting them from the front that these are the champions that you already have in that community. You should organize talk series with industry experts. Allow yourself to be the bridge between the industry and then the community so that when it comes to organizing programs, you're able to connect so easily. You should celebrate your achievements, right? And you could do that with a story. You could guide people on the journey of how you started, where you are. So anniversaries are quite important. Your anniversaries might not always be happy. It might not always show that you've been able to create change, but you should mark it as a way to show that this is where you are at this particular point in time. Because if you do not do it, then you wouldn't know, where you're going to. Another one is you could actually organize weekly contests, and the contest does not necessarily need to involve money. You could actually give them some of your branded items, just to show solidarity in some point, and they serve as brand ambassadors for you. Then one thing that a lot of people neglect is an Ask Me Anything session. I remember there was a time, I think it was in 2021 or 2020, where we organized the North Normal Rally in Kano State. And then, we're calling for an end to SGBV, which means sexual and gender-based violence. But then again, we saw that we're not achieving what we wanted to achieve. And then we called some people that are quite, they were quite influential in the community to ask them that what is happening? We would think that you would want to end sexual and gender-based violence. It turns out that there was a misinformation going around that we're advocating for LGBT. And they said LGBT sounds like SGBV. And that was how we were able to change our branding and not use acronyms again. So my personal advice is that you stay clear of acronyms unless the people in your community know it. because you do not want a misinformation to ruin the goal of, what you're trying to achieve in that community. Next slide, please. Thank you. So how do you go about this? You need to think of stories in new ways, right? And embrace new tools. There's a very popular tool right now, generative AI or ChatGPT or Gemini, that people actually use. But the problem is that, sorry to say, a lot of us are very lazy when it comes to using these tools. And I'm not saying that we should not use those tools, but I'm saying that we should use those tools in a way that helps us and maintains our level of originality, right? And the thing is, a good way to go about it is this. Even if you do not have the proper big English to write that story yourself, write a very good sketch about how you want the story to flow, pass it to ChatGPT and learn how to prompt. So prompting does not mean, how do I make this better? You could tell lines of how to go about this. This is the type of community I'm advocating for. So in that regard, what you're doing is that you're allowing it to think about different possible pathways. And then if there's any path along the way that you're trying to get people to learn your story, you're able to understand it a lot better. And I'd give you an example. If you're telling a story on Facebook, it's different from when you're telling a story on Instagram. It's different from when you're telling a story on Twitter. On Twitter, we have a thread that you can do, right? And then you want people to follow it, which is quite easier. On Instagram, you're limited to just 10 spaces for you to tell your story in one post. On Facebook, you have to write long English, but you can add a lot of pictures that you want to do. So you have to adopt different formatting and different storyline. And that's why you need someone who understands how to tell a story in a particular platform. You could see that some people are very popular on Twitter because of the way they tell their stories, but they're not that popular on Instagram. So how do you learn from these people? How do you learn the visual cues that they use? So you need to study the different tools and technologies that they use and how they go about it. You also need to develop a new storyline. If you've been telling a story about someone that has, not been able to go to school or has experienced some level of discrimination, you need to find out different ways in which discrimination occurs. So you do not want to just be hampering on one single particular storyline. It gets very boring. And I don't know if we have some millennials here, but I remember when I was young, every Thursday by 8 p.m., we had Super Story, right? And the first one that was published, I think if memory serves me well, is O Father, O Daughter, the story of Suara and Toyin Tomato. It's very funny that we still call her Toyin Tomato still now. But then again, it got to a point whereby they needed to bring another story, and they did. But we still know everything as Super Story, but then there are other stories under. So you could have your organization and then develop new storylines so that people are able to connect with your organization in different ways. And then they have different stories of how they got to learn about your organization. Next slide, please. Thank you. So how do you do that? The first thing is for you to use rich and detailed explanation. Don't shy away from telling the details. Don't shy away. Don't make it feel like, there's something that you should leave out. Tell everything and then allow people to find the information that means the most to them. A lot of times we try to move towards brevity, right? Trying to make things as short as possible, but then we leave the most important part out. And I'd give an example of, the End SARS protest. A lot of people only remember the fact that it was bloody. But then some people have forgotten the fact that, there were some celebrities on Instagram who actually recorded an Instagram live, and then they told that story. And you cannot fake an Instagram live. It is literally being recorded at that point in time. But then how many people have been able to document properly what really happened, right? How many people have been able to use rich and detailed explanation to tell that story? Not a lot of people. So whenever you're doing your advocacy, even if you heard a story from the bike man that took you to a particular place, it will resonate more powerful than when you sit down with a community gatekeeper. Because a lot of us underrate people that, are just moving around, but those are the people that actually have the story, you get. So you need to explore different themes and you need to make them care. Making somebody care does not mean being, in some way divisive towards them. It does not mean you need to break people apart. It simply means that you need to tell them something and you need to mean it yourself. It simply means that you need to go ahead to show them that this is something they're truly passionate about, and you're willing to work towards it till you get to a point whereby you feel that you have made change. And please always remember to celebrate your success. I think if you move to the next one, that's probably my final slide. Thank you. So the last one I want to share is that you should always have a call to action. And this is very important because sometimes you watch a video and from what I've said, you would have a lingering question that, so what? So what do I do now? This is beautiful, but how do I go about it? The first way you need to do that is you should have better audience engagement. You're not a celebrity and you're trying to connect with people. So respond to every comment or question that they have. You should make sure that you're able to provide it properly, right? So if somebody is saying, what do I do? Then that means there's something wrong with your video, because at the end of your video, you can even tell people that they should just use the hashtag or comment under the picture. That's what you want to do. And why is a call to action important? It increases the impact and outcomes. And it also allows you to measure how successful your initiative has been, right? Or how it has not been. I'd give you an example. Let's say you want to run a particular program. You could create a very unique hashtag for yourself. And then at the end of the program, you could just, use one tool or another. If you reach out to me, I'll definitely tell you the tool you can use to measure a hashtag, just to see the level of reach that you have, the level of people that have actually seen your work online, and the level of people that, stopped at a particular time. I'd give an example that, when you post a video on TikTok, TikTok can actually tell you the specific time that people are dropping out of your video. So next time you're creating a video, you'll think about, oh, how do I make people stay and watch this video till the end, right? And that's part of analytics. You need to measure whatever it is you do. You're not measuring it necessarily to celebrate the success. You're trying to make it more impactful because everybody has limited time and it takes, let's say, 8 seconds actually for somebody to get disinterested in what you've posted. And that's the reason why when you look at social media, we keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It is very intentional. So how many times have we stopped and looked at a particular content because it was so powerful? That is what you should go after. And that is the major part of storytelling. Storytelling is a way for people to calm down, focus on your story, and then make them care. Thank you very much, and I'd love to welcome any questions that you may have. Yeah.
Am I free to ask my question?
Yes, please, Sephora, go ahead.
Okay. So what if you're in a situation whereby the government like puts a gun through your head and is
Sephora, I can't hear you. Am I the only one?
I heard her.
Okay. Sorry, please, could you repeat what she said? I didn't, the voice broke up for a while. I heard the government put a gun to your head, but that was the last thing I heard.
Yes, that was the last thing I heard too.
Okay, while we wait for her network, I wonder if anyone has a particular question. Yeah, you can send your questions through the chat too. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning, yes.
My question is that you mentioned earlier that we should not always be negative
Yes.
in telling our stories, but I've discovered that over the years, it's only when you're being negative about an issue that attention is being drawn to it. So I don't know whether there's a way you can. My question is, I don't know whether there's a way you can create a balance because
Yes. Okay.
because if you're always telling a good side of, no offense, if you're always telling a good side of a story, people are bound to say is okay. But whenever the negative side is being brought out, that's when the issue is being resolved. So
Okay.
that's my question. Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for that question. So the reason why I'm saying that you should avoid negativity, right, is that you would always need the support of the government in order for you to do something, right? So you can mention the gap that is there. And we live in a country whereby the gap in a lot of things is so wide. I'd give you an example. In the National Disability Act that was enacted in 2018, it stated that in every public organization, right, or public civil service, basically, they should have about 5% of people with disability gainfully employed in that. But then the World Bank actually, they released the data that said it's only 0.3% of the PWDs who are of working age in Nigeria that actually have access to that. So if the government, take for example, starts a campaign that they want to train they want to employ specific number of PWDs, and let's say they want to do 1 million, right? You already have the number of the PWDs of working age in Nigeria. So you can say that you commend the government's effort and you look forward to their implementation. So then what you can now do in terms of, making sure that you hold them accountable is to say that, okay, the government said they're going to do something by this or so time, by this or so time, they're not able to do it. What's happening? So it's not like you do not talk about the negative side, but it's that whenever you see something positive, you also say it. In my language, in my tribe rather, there's a particular saying that no matter how spoiled something is, there's still an amount of good that is in it, right? So if the government does something, you should say that it is commendable. But then again, it doesn't mean that there's not a huge gap to do. So you could also still talk about the fact that, okay, they have done this, they have done that, but more needs to be done. So, and that makes you to serve as an ally rather than someone that people will say that, oh yeah, always about bad news, always about bad news. Even amongst our friends, we have people that we don't like talking to all the time because it's either they're talking about death all the time or they know the person that just died immediately, right? So it's very good to maintain a healthy balance. And for you to last long or stay positive in the advocacy space, I think you need some good news and you need to not fight all the time. Sometimes you need to go and provide solutions, go and provide policy recommendations to the government, but also specify that there's still a lot of gap to be done. So it's more about when something good is done, acknowledge it. When something bad is done, acknowledge it too. And you're not stifling the government to think that, oh, all they do is bad. Because as much as we believe that the government is bad, there's still some people in there that are trying to make it good. So that would be my point, Daniel. Okay, we have a question from Ogiji Blessing on the chat that states, how can you change your current audience to be the desired audience for your brand? And so the most important part is that you meet your audience where they are. And you make sure that you create relatable content to them, right? So this means that nobody has time to watch a 10-minute video again on Instagram. Make your content as short as possible. Even skit makers. I used to say that before, Craze Clown, I think most of you know him, was able to make us laugh in 15 seconds. So ask yourself that question. How can you make people care in under 1 minute? If you can do that, then you will not only be able to market your brand as an organization, but you'll also be seen as someone that's able to gain the most important currency, which is, attention. And then Aproko Doctor has been able to do it. When you look at Aproko Doctor or any of his content, even though it's been a long time, he told people to drink water. But the major thing that you remember him for is drinking water. And if you're eating food like a thief at night, you remember that somebody said that you should not be eating food like a thief at night. So what is that one thing that you can do through your organization to make sure that you're very memorable to the point that when they see you, they know what you're on about? So even in terms of managing time, I would like to tell people that we have 17 SDGs. But to be honest, if you come and meet me that you work on 17 SDGs, only you, I will not take you seriously. So the way to manage your time is to make sure that you are very intentional about the SDGs or the issue that you advocate for. And it doesn't need to be very big when you're starting. It could be a very small thing you're doing, but you're doing it effectively. A lot of young people do not know that even the SDGs, we have specific targets under each specific SDG that you can advocate for. So if you meet someone and say that you're advocating for SDG 4.5, for example, Somebody knows that you've done a deeper research into what you're doing, and you just don't say quality education, but you're handling a part of the quality education that you feel is important. And with that, it is easier to place you in positions of opportunity. Thank you. Okay, do we have any more questions? I believe I'm past time. I believe our next facilitator is Ikin now. Maoga, I'm so sorry for taking up 3 minutes. So I think I'd like to thank you all for having me, and please reach out to me if you have any question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sir Mubarak Idris, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, sir. It was such an inspiring session. We have come to the close of the first session for the day on storytelling and advocacy, and we will be moving on to the second and last session for this boot camp, which will be the session on the topic developing and implementing action plans for advocacy. Developing and implementing action plans for advocacy. And this session will be taken by Ikenna Ogodimpa. And our facilitator for this session, Ikenna Ogodimpa, is a development sector professional. He's a global activist of the One campaign, and he is a Nelson Mandela Washington Fellow. He is currently the Policy, Advocacy, and Government Relations Lead at LEAP Africa and the project lead of the Nigerian Youth Futures Fund. Let's all make a virtual round of applause for our facilitator. In the meantime, the previous facilitator had dropped his LinkedIn profile link in the comment section. We also do it, provide it in the WhatsApp chat room for the participant. So you can also get that there. Thank you. So Sir Ikenna, over to you.
Thank you very much. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. Just a couple of seconds. I'm trying to ensure that my internet is stable. Nigeria has been happening for a while, and so we've been having shaky internet down here. But I had to make extra provisions to be here this morning, and I'm so happy to be here. And I want to especially thank Sohimba for the invitation and for Mubarak for having an exceptional session. I wish I had actually joined earlier to listen to storytelling for advocacy, because as advocates, we keep amplifying our stories, we keep sharing highlights of the things that we do, we keep ensuring that the world hears us and knows us, just like even the protests that's happening right now. And we keep positioning ourselves, to make more impact than normal, because storytelling is very vital for the work that we do. And so this is a very vital session. And thanks so much for Sohimba and the entire team for putting this together. Like you've been told, I'll be taking you through developing and implementing action plan for accountability. And just in the next couple of minutes, I'd like to know our participants. So if you can do me a favor of typing your name and your organization or what you do in the chat box, it would be glad to have an idea of what you do as we get onto the session. And I also like to meet you and know you. And so please, if you can help us do that, and that would be a good starter for us. So as you've already been told, my name is Ikenna Ogodimpa, and I work with the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund as a project lead. I'm also the project lead, as a project lead I'm also the Policy, Advocacy, and Government Relations lead for Leap Africa. Leap Africa is a youth development organization, 22 years in existence, that bridges the gap in leadership for young people across Africa. So I'm reading the chat box to see if I'll see any intro. I've not seen any yet. I don't know if it's from my end or internet. So maybe I'll also show you my face, if that would help. Can you see me? Hi.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So if I confirm if you can share the slides, so we can just get started. But I'm still waiting for your introductions. Please let me know your name, where you're from, your organization, what you do. One line. I'll just to get a view of the people in the room. Okay, are we cold? I believe no one has typed anything yet. Okay, thank you, Aondoka. I hope I pronounced your name well, Joseph. Thank you. Okay, from Benue, student leader. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Aisha. Aisha, I almost studied law. I was just this close to studying law. Just this close. I still want to study law, like Sohimba as well. Because of the work I do and how important it is as well to get a full knowledge and grasp of what the law is. I'm currently pursuing my master's in public policy. So that gives you an idea of how interested I am in law. Thank you so much. Oh, Irene, thank you so much as well. Law student 20 level from now. It's actually very fantastic to get to understand your audience, so you even know how to relate with them. Now, I know that I'm speaking with everyday scholars, but I should be very mindful of how I say things and things that I say as well. Student leader, Patience, thank you, Patience, for fine. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So we will go straight into the, thank you, Tessia, Samuel. You work with Loft Africa, fantastic, from Benue. Okay, I think we have a lot of people from Benue Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, North Central Benue. Okay, fantastic. Thanks everyone for making that introduction. Happy to meet you all. So I'll be sharing in the next few minutes, and I hope this class will be as interactive as it can be. I'll be sharing in the next few minutes. Thank you, Uta Barnabas from Macaulay. I'll be sharing in the next few minutes practical skills for M&E, for monitoring and advocacy, but with focus on accountability. And so please do feel free to use the chat box, raise your hand if you need me to repeat something, or if you want to ask a question, or if you need clarity in any area. And if I'm rushing, please slow me down a bit. And so also please, so him and the host, remind me if time is almost been up. So I'll be sure that I'm in line with the assignment. All right, so yes, my name is Ikenna, like you've been told. I work with Leap Africa, and this morning we are going to be sharing, random thoughts, nothing special, nothing spectacular, but we'll just be sharing thoughts around accountability from personal experiences, from what you've also done in your own little space, and how we can advance accountability across Africa. Next slide, please. Can I control from my end? Okay. All right. Can we have the next slide? Okay, I think I'm happy seeing my face. But I also want to go on with the session. So, but if there's an issue, can I share from my end? Is that okay?
Okay, I think maybe she's having a network issue.
Okay. Um, okay, so while this is trying to come on, I'll just share thoughts. That's the disadvantage of using slides. Sometimes you just rely on it to go forward. And if I share from my own end, you might not get it. Okay, but just to understand, why there's need for accountability or for holding leaders. And when I mean leaders, I mean even at the family level. Thank you, Ota, for following us for a long time now. And I hope you work with us in one way or the other, become, beneficiary of the amazing work that we do. So there's need to hold leaders accountable. And even in your family, leadership is across board, not only government leaders, in any organization, but our focus for this morning will be around governance and leadership. And so it's quite essential to hold leaders accountable, because leadership, accountability provides a framework for responsive leadership. Very important to understand that leadership has to be responsive, and at every time we need to ensure that people are engaging. And when I mean engaging, I don't mean, I like the way Mubarak shared earlier. I don't mean antagonizing, I don't mean fighting, I don't mean any of those words that I mean engaging. And when I mean engaging, I mean engaging with courtesy, respect, for leadership, and with the idea to get favorable outcomes of engagement. And so at the end of the day, if your idea is to ensure that there's a primary health center in your community, and you're not able to do that, it means you probably don't even engage effectively, because every leader wants to also ensure that work is done and dividends of democracy is democratized, if I use the word, in every community across his constituency. I'll try to share this from my end. Just give me a couple of seconds. Let me see if it will work. Where is my Zoom right now? Okay. I'm not sure. Was I made a co-host? That way it's easier.
So if it's possible, can you continue? I will get to share it. I've shared the slides have been shared. Thank you.
Okay, do you have the slides now?
Yes, I do. So I'm trying to put it up.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let me stop sharing that. Yeah. Okay, so while he does that, I'd like to also get more interaction from the audience. So has anybody here done anything on accountability? If you've done anything on accountability, holding government accountable for anything at all, you've engaged with government at the local level, even your SUG, probably SUG, school administration. However, even your family, if you've actually said, "Oh, Dad, you said you would do this, you didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? When are we getting it?" Can anyone share any experience like that? You can raise your hand. I hope I can see the hand picture. If you have it, or just use the chat box as well if you have any experience with holding. I'd like to just hear from one person, one special person this morning. So do you have any volunteers? Law students, I know law students like to talk and say, "I put it to you." So is anyone here ready to actually put it to us? An experience of how you held anything accountable, anybody accountable, even your brother, your family, school, anywhere.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm a student, and during my departmental school elections, I I followed in a way, I followed each and every candidate. I made sure I got a copy of their manifestos, and eventually the person who won, I have found a way of holding him accountable, because I presented before him his manifestos, all the things he had said he would do, and I gave him I sorry, what's the word now? Will I say, congratulated him on the ones or the aspects that he had done well in, and the ones I felt he still had some more work to do. I I I I gave him some advice. I gave him my own input on ways he could do better. So that's my own little experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. That's quite spot on. Because it's always very good to engage, like I said, from a place of partnership and from a place of activism, right? Except to go south, then you can be the activist that, except you are not listened to. But the first step of engagement should always be dialogue, right? Dialogue is really important in engagement. And when you even engage in dialogue, you need to not come forward to the person or the people as if they have not done anything. And I like your approach. It's 100% fantastic by saying, oh, you know what, you said you would do 10 things. Oh, you've done these 8 things, and these 8 things have been excellent. And even prioritize those 8 things that the person has done and amplify, the impact of it. Oh, and because of your education loan promise, my 2 sisters are in school. They won't even have been in school, but they're in school. This has helped, our family. This has helped them. So it's always important because you also need to understand that sometimes people's ego needs to be massaged. At the end of the day, the idea is results. And if you have to achieve results, you need to be able to massage those egos and not let people feel. Also, look at your own personal life. If someone says, oh, you've not done this, you've not done it, you've not done it, sometimes you feel, instead of getting corrected, right, you get angry at the person. Many people do not want their sins to be laid before them. Also, like I said, look at you. So when we antagonize government, understanding that this government are also people, right? So when you say, you've not done this, there's no education, there's bad road, there's no loan, there's no this one, there's no this one. Sometimes they get apprehensive rather than listening. And so, like I said earlier, use yourself as a case study as well, and understand that when someone says all the bad things about you and never even says one good thing about you, you feel agitated, you even feel apprehensive, and you even want to not listen to any other thing that he's saying, right? And maybe at the time, even wield your power to say, you know what, I'm the bigger guy, and I really don't care. So it's always good to amplify the little things the person has done while you're also engaging them to do the rest. And in that way, the person can say, oh yeah, you know what, you actually reminded me that I said X, Y, Z. I think I've been busy. I think I've not had the money. I think the budget has not captured it. And I promise I'll go on to do this. And government people, it's easy for them to promise. Once you make them feel good, they'll promise, I'll promise that we'll do this and we'll do this. And if you also keep engaging them, they will do it at the end of the day. And yeah, first one, also thank you for sharing your internship at the radio station where you did an academic work. Yeah, it took you a while. Fantastic. It's always, advocacy is always taking a while. It's unending sometimes. It's crazy, but that's the reality. You have to keep pushing. So because of time, let me get straight into this. So governance, I'm really happy that you all already understand the framework. So what we'll do is just share these thoughts. You pick 1 or 2 thoughts from it. And we'll share examples as we're already doing, and when there's need to even do a little bit of a practical, or for you to also share your own experiences, I'll always beckon you to do that. And thank you for working with me on this. So governance, accountability, and active citizenship, right? These are the very important subjects of this discussion. And, why are we holding government leaders accountable? This is like the background. And so it ensures responsible governance, right? And we've just stated that as well. That accountability compels leaders to act in the public's best interest and not theirs, right? Making decisions that are transparent, fair, and ethical, right? Something that, we do in the development space, we call it needs assessments. And so what it means in the mere words that it captures is that, leaders need to access people's needs. So what happens is that leaders develop campaign manifestos, right? Beautiful manifestos that they design, that they pay consultants. I've been a part of that, some years ago, where they pay consultants thousands of dollars, right? Tens of thousands of dollars, actually. Those manifestos that you see, they're not them that developed it. I have that experience and I will share with you 100%. They don't develop those manifestos. They pay consultants who develop those manifestos, and most times they don't even have the ability to go through it and embody it. So sometimes they don't know exactly what they say that they will do. They know some, but they don't know all because they were not in that entire process of that manifesto development. And so they don't develop those manifestos most times capturing the needs of the people, right? So, for example, and I'll just keep giving a whole lot of examples, and even in the development space. I don't know if you've had a story that a leader went to a community and an NGO went to a community to develop a project, right? Because the NGO, they discovered that there's no pipe on water in that community, and they walk a long distance to get water from the stream. And the NGO developed funding to build, a borehole for them and actually build the borehole. And we'll talk about M&E at the end of the session, but most later the NGO went to the community to see how effective that borehole has been and discovered that they don't use the borehole. Good water, free water, but the community does not use it. And the NGO started inquiring why, and they discovered that most times where the community people bond, right, is when they walk from their homes to the stream to get water. Where the youth have time to play, where wives have time to gossip, and where people even have time to get out of their homes is when they walk a long distance, and that stream become a rallying point for them. But they didn't find it in the borehole because the borehole was just close, was just in their community, right? So a fantastic project, a fantastic idea, but does not meet the needs of the community. So what they had to do was to now build the borehole a little bit of a distance from the community, and then the community started using the borehole because now they had the time to meet their own needs. So, so that's what accountability does. Accountability is saying, oh, you are saying that you want to build hostels for us. Our priority right now is not hostels. Our priority is equipment in class, right? Even the hotels are a good idea, fantastic idea that to be hostels, but at this time we want equipment, and that's why needs assessment is always good for every government leader. And so accountability, and active citizenship makes us hold our leaders accountable and ensure that they act in the public's best interest and not what they think or what they believe, or even in their own selfish interest as well. Secondly, is that it prevents corruption. We can go on and on to share about how this prevents corruption, because when leaders know that they're accountable, then there's little room for corruption. When you know that I'll be checking your papers every day, just like in an exam hall, right? When you know that an invigilator will be there, by default, you would want to coordinate yourself, right? And that's the truth. And so that's also what accountability does. When they know that, oh, leaders, like what you see happen all around the country now, any future president who is going to come into the country will be in fact, the president's administration will be very careful because they know Nigerians are no longer playing. They're no longer sitting on the fence. They're as active as ever. We did it in the last administration. We are doing it in this administration. Who says they won't do it in the next administration, except that person really performs well, right? But that's to say that everybody who's coming understands that young people are active now. And so that prevents them to a large extent, not 100% proof, but prevents them from engaging in corrupt practice. It protects the democracy, right? And these foundations are actually very important. So we get straight into the accountability part of it. Because accountability is the cornerstone for democracy. If no one holds you accountable, you will do whatever you want to do, right? So if leaders are answerable to people, understand that in democracy, people have the highest power, right? So we have the office of the citizen, office of the people, but the people elect leaders. You already know that leaders are servants. They are people who are elected to serve the people, right? And so it protects them. But let's go to the next slide. I'll try to run because of time. Really important as well. And so, yeah, it promotes trust as well. So when leaders are accountable, it builds public trust, right? Important that leaders are held accountable. And so when you say, oh, you said you would do 10 boreholes, where is the 10 boreholes that you've done, right? And as a leader, I'm showing you, oh, I've actually done 12, it's in this community, or it's in this block, it's in the law block, it's in the faculty of engineering, it's in the faculty of social sciences. These are the 12 I've built. Or, oh, no, I've built 9, is remaining 1. The one that I'm supposed to build will be in the next budget. I'm planning to build. So it just promotes trust. And when you see firsthand where your leaders are accountable, you begin to trust them. You begin to even invest in governance. You begin to invest in you begin to become more patriotic, actually. And trust in government is key. If you've seen what has happened in the last elections, you see that trust in the electoral system has been eroded. Now you understand that now people are saying, oh, I'm not going to vote again. People who have their PVCs are saying, oh, I'm not going to even vote, I'm going to break. Some people actually broke their PVCs, said they won't vote again and all that. You see that trust is eroded. So when trust is eroded, it becomes a major challenge for accountability. You're not even interested again to even hold them accountable because you believe that these guys are not even listening at all. So accountability promotes trust. It improves policy outcomes because when leaders know that they will be evaluated based on their performance, they're more likely to do more and do well for the people than normal. It empowers citizens. This is vital. Accountability empowers you. You begin to have a voice in government, right? Which is what young people all across the country is saying right now. They're empowered because accountability frameworks are enshrined in the constitution, right? And it fosters sustainable development. Let's go to the next slide. Of course, this ensures that long-term goals are met, sustainable development is implemented because we hold our leaders accountable. So it's good to also understand how to do this. Thank you, Faith. I see your comment, your introduction, right? Thank you, Faith. I see there are a lot of law students here. Fantastic. So understanding action plans is really vital. And so what is an action plan? Action plan, in plain words, is a strategic outline, step by step, detailing the steps required to achieve a goal or address an issue. It's as simple as that. It's just an outline. Number one, I'll do this. Number two, I'll do this. Number three, I'll do this. Number four, I'll do this to achieve X, Y, Z, right? And the purpose is that it serves as a blueprint that guides the execution of tasks and ensures that resources are directed towards achieving desired outcomes. So it's just like a blueprint. How are we going to achieve this? Okay, now we want to ensure that there's a library in the law faculty, right? Our libraries are not equipped, or we don't have a library, and want to ensure, and it's in the plan for the school to build a library. How are we going to do that? That's really what an action plan is. How do we work around this? What are the things we need to do first? So an action plan will help you to know, are we going to meet the VC first? Are we going to meet the dean of the law faculty first? That's really what it means. Are we going to tell the students first, this is our plan? Or are we going to engage with the lecturers first before we come to the students, right? Are we going to route? Are we going to do a town hall meeting? Are we going to invite the VC? Are we going to go to his office? Action plan is just understanding what you need to do, how you need to do it, when you need to do it, and who is responsible for what implementing. And so why action plans are important? Action plans provide clarity and focus. And please, like I said, use the chat box, raise your hand if I can see that, and just let me know when I should pause or when you have a question to ask. So why is action plan important? It provides clarity and focus. It makes you understand exactly what you're doing, and when you have to do what you have to do, right? So it's just providing structure to the entire process, right? Accountability it also ensures that responsibilities are assigned. So Aondo, I hope that's the name. Aondo knows what he should do. Right now, he's helping me project the slide and ensure that everything is perfectly well. And so Himba has a plan, has what every one of us has. We all have a role. So that's what it makes us also do. Thank you, Daniel. I see your comments. Measurable outcomes as well helps us have very strong measurable outcomes that we can track, right, against set goals, and helps us in coordination. I think that's the summary of it. Coordination helps us to coordinate what our accountability steps are. Next slide, please. So I'll share this with, I've already shared with them, and they can share with you if you need it. And so there are steps to develop an action plan, right? First, you need to identify the problem opportunity. Most times people go straight to the solution, and I've seen that happen a countless times, I beg your pardon. People go straight to the solution without even understanding, right, the issue. What is the issue? I just gave you an instance of a community who needs clean water, but there's a specification to it, right? So identifying the problem is different from understanding, having a full grasp of the issue. And let me give you an instance of what the issue can be. For example, if you're advocating for a law library in school, right? The first is to analyze the context and define the problem, right? The problem is that there's no law library, right? And why? So was it that the law library was budgeted but was not built and someone took the money? Does it mean that the school has never budgeted for the law library, right? Does it mean that it's in the next year's plan of the school? Does it mean that it's in the next month's plan of the school, right? What is the issue in entirety? That equips you to engage effectively. Imagine bringing all your 1,000 students, right, to the VC and saying, we no go agree, we no go agree. We need library, we no go agree. And the VC brings out the plan. Oh, I thought you were aware. The library was supposed to start, we're supposed to start building the library next week. We've paid the contractor, this is the contract, this is the agreement. We've even paid, released the funding. In fact, the contractors have started mobilizing equipment to the campus. You look like a fool, right? Because you come to agitate. You identify that as a problem, understand, right? But you didn't understand what the issues are. So sometimes you need to do research, right? Understand what is really happening. You need to collect data and insights, right, to inform your action plan and provide a solid foundation. When you come to engage with the leader from a place of knowledge, the person is awed, actually. The person listens to you. So if you say, oh, you know what, this library was budgeted in 2019, was not done, was budgeted in 2020, but the contractor returned the money, was budgeted in 2021, but the contractor, started only the foundation and quit because the monies were not paid, budgeted in 2022. So the person says, oh, you already understand the full grasp of the issue, right? And even with your advocacy, you are even making recommendations. You are saying, oh, you know what? This is what we think you should do. This is how we think you should go about it. It helps you. It helps you understand exactly how to engage and even help the solution, help proper solution, but not just to antagonize, right? I always tell the community that we have to organize, not agonize, right? There are two different things. We need to have to organize us, and I think organization is key. We have to organize. So research helps you understand the parameters of which that goal has to be placed and how you actually will engage with your leaders going forward. And so after understanding the issue, right, you need to define clear goals. So what are your goals, right? If you understand the issue, that if you understand now that the issue is no longer the unwillingness of the school, that the issue is now the availability of funds. Understand that there's no library, right? And from your research, maybe the school have never budgeted for a library. And you understand that the few times this matter has come up, the school has said, oh, we don't have the funds. We even struggle to pay our teachers. We don't have the funds to build a library. Now, your advocacy will now change a bit. Your action plan will now be, part of it, you will now think about resource mobilization. How do we mobilize resources for this library? So while you're advocating to the school, you're no longer saying this is incapable, this cannot provide a library. No. You are saying the VC, we understand these problems, we understand that you've tried before in the past to do this, but we are suggesting that how about we developing a student fund to be the library? How about we putting a line budget in our next school fees? Say we are the students of law faculty and we are willing to support. How about we saying, okay, in the next school fees we are going to pay, every student will pay 10,000 for infrastructure development, right? So you now approach the campaign in a different model because you understand what that is, and you now set your SMART goals. You already know what SMART goals are: specific, measurable, achievable. Emphasis on achievable, because sometimes we tell the government and we tell leaders what is impossible to be done because we feel that they are superhumans. They're also humans like us. They are plagued with. Imagine the challenges that you have in your personal life, and imagine how it's not that easy to solve it. Now imagine when you are meeting a community's needs. So some of these things are not easy. And in your mind, there's money, right? I remember engaging a particular organization, say, oh, your staff are complaining, increase their salaries, blah, blah, blah. And I said, fantastic suggestion. We also want to increase salaries, but we don't have the capacity. So, they showed their budget, they're actually struggling with funds and say, how are we going to increase salaries if we don't have the money to increase these salaries? We're even struggling to pay the ones that we're paying, right? So it just makes you understand that this is a wild goose chase. What you should be campaigning for is, how do we increase revenue? How do we mobilize resources to increase salary? Not how do we increase salary, right? And so that's that for alignment, for SMART goals. Then alignment is that you need to ensure that goals are in line with your objectives. So do not dilly-dally, do not go left and right, saying X, Y, Z, don't scatter. I always tell people, and especially, this is my personal thoughts, please don't hold me, don't put me anywhere, and don't hold me accountable for it as well, because I know we are law students and we are very smart people. But even with this advocacy of end bad governance, I was having a chat with someone and I said, one of the biggest challenges that we have is that even though we are currently, I've seen that we are currently synthesizing our hope, we are actually bringing cohesion to the entire campaign. But my talk will be, it's easy to advocate for one, two things than advocate for everything. Then you even put your people, you're advocating to confuse on what do we really even need to do, right? Because you're advocating for everything. You're advocating for, we want a better life. But what does a better life mean to you? What a better life means to me is different from what a better life means to Daniel. Right now, Daniel is concerned about school, right? How do I graduate from language and linguistics from Benue State University? That's what his concerns are right now. So a better life for me is different, right? A better life for me might be power, right? Or internet right now to make this class effective. So we need to align our campaign, with the broad object. So when I said, I wish we had even said, okay, let's remove two things. Let's remove let's bring back forced subsidy. And that's the only campaign. Seeing that if we bring back forced subsidy, it will reduce inflation, right? It will make food cheaper because cost of production will be easier. It will do this and do this and do this. So we say, okay, let's tackle one thing. Let's tackle inflation. Let's tackle forced subsidy. Because these, from your research, remember I talked about research, right? This will be the multiplying effect when forced subsidy is brought back. And your statements are clear, right? In that way, you are not making it ambiguous. You're not confusing me, the leader, from saying, I need scholarship, I need internet in my hostel, I need steady lights, I need water, I need I need food from the cafeteria every morning at least. If students don't eat well, they can't study well. We need security in school. The student leaders will say, oh my goodness, which one will I do right now? You get, so it's just to take things one step at a time. And I'll use this to close. Imagine going to your father as well and say, you know what, daddy, I need to buy a computer in school. I need school fees. I need to change my school uniforms. I need to change my phone. My phone is bad. I need provisions. And your father will say, oh, it's okay, please. You're overwhelming me right now. But it's easy to come to them and say, you know what, daddy, I need school fees. And your daddy gives you school fees. Thank you, Daniel. And you go home and you come back next week to say, daddy, I need new computer. And they say, but I gave you school fees just last week. Remember things I had though. Daddy gives you computer, you come next to you, daddy, I need. It's easier to get those things done one after the other. So you need to understand. But like I said, this is from research. If your research also lets you know that you need to go all head on, please do that, right? Because you may not get the opportunity. If you're meeting with the governor, for instance, you may not get the opportunity every day. You may not come back like so you talk to your father every day. So you might need to share everything, but you might need to emphasize on one or two things that you need to be done. Also categorize your problems into needs and wants. So what is the vital thing? So if you say food is expensive, there's hunger. Hunger is not the problem. Hunger is not the root cause. There's a root cause. So can we think about what is root cause? Like I said, is the hiking for price the root cause? Let's tackle the root cause, right? Is insecurity another root cause? Let's tackle the root cause. And forget talking about the outcomes of what the root cause have. All right, next slide. Let me not overshare from this angle. I'm just enjoying the session as well, and I hope you are. So please, if you're following, let me be sure. Thanks, Daniel, for your comments. If you're following, just type one in the comments in the chat box. Let me be sure that we're here. If I get 5 ones, then I'm sure that you're following. Just type one in the chat box. Let me be sure that we are following. At least 3, 4, 5, 1, 1 will help me. Just one. Just type one. Thank you, Aisha. Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Samuel. And so steps to develop an action plan. So breakdown goes into specific manageable tasks. I've shared this to an extent. You need to break down your goals into specific manageable tasks. So if I've said it already, and I will just give, I think I'll use one case study to give you an overview of how you can do this. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Irene. Thanks all. You just need to break down your goals into specific manageable tasks. So what is your goal? Your goal is to, let me use the library, for instance. Now, your goal is to build, I know you have a library in your school. I believe you have a library. or okay, let me even do this. Let's use a real practical thing. Can anyone volunteer to just talk about one thing he wants to hold, or he or she wants to hold her school accountable for? Let's use it to build an action plan, so it's easier to understand. I think I've talked about law library because I've seen that we have more law students. Maybe the library is ineffective, so just let me know if there is. I'll probably continue with the one I'm using already, but I like to use practical scenarios so we understand. Yes, some of hostels are terrible, right? Daniel hostels. Any other one? So are you advocating for a renovation, a revamping, or building new hostels? What exactly is the goal? Daniel, you can unmute as well. Let's hear from you.
Okay, sir. Renovation of the hostels. Yes, and new ones are being built, but the old ones are not being renovated. So it's more like you're making new hostels, yet the old ones are bad. So if the new ones,
right.
if the old ones can be renovated, yes, sir.
Fantastic. Quick question to you, Daniel. In your school, the hostels in campus and off campus, which one is more expensive?
So the ones off campus are more expensive.
Okay. Another question. Do you think
Yes,
if hostels in campus are built with are built like the ones off campus, like they are self-cons, beautifully built, facilities intact and all that, do you think people prefer to stay off campus or in campus?
people will prefer to stay on campus.
Sorry?
Students will prefer to be on campus, to stay on campus. Yes, sir.
And so do you also think that if the school builds these hostels, that the school or renovates the existing hostels, that the school is able to even generate more revenue than what they have already?
Yes, sir. So I completely agree.
Exactly. And so that's we can go on to list the benefits of building these hostels in school, just like you have in private universities, and that's And that's why it's important to research. So if you're coming to the VC, for example, from a place of, oh, our hostels are bad, you are building new ones, you're not renovating the old ones, what is wrong with you? We need more hostels, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's good, but it's not the best, right? But if you drop a business model, Daniel, imagine that we say, okay, you know what, let's work with you to drop a business model for, you know, hostel accommodation in Nigerian universities, right? If you go to the West, do you know that many students live on campus and off campus? That school provides a lot of accommodation for their students, right? And so you can build a research, you can develop a case study for that, and build a business model around it and say to your school VC, this is a model that can work, right? And show the business model, show the VC that the school is going to make 100 million naira every year from having good hostels on campus. And these are the merits. It means that students will commit more to studies, and now you are talking about hostel, Daniel, but you've even related it to academic performance. Because the more students are in school, the more they're able to go to class at night, the more they're able to peer learn, the more they're able to go for tutorials, the more they're able, do you understand? So now from hostel alone, you are connecting to the entire performance of the university. Because the more students make good grades, the more is it called evaluation or accreditation or whatever, the more the ranking of the school goes high, the more students are able to study well, sleep, rest well, get good grades, get good jobs, right? The ranking of school goes high. So from only hostel, right? That's why research is good. From only hostel, you're able to extrapolate it to a 50-year plan for the university. And this is saying, wow, I've never thought about this from this way. Understand that as an advocate, there are things you see that the VC does not see. So do not believe that the VC is all knowing and all powerful. No. Just like in football, we don't play better than Messi or Ronaldo, but as spectators, sometimes we're outside and we're seeing how Messi can play better. Or if Messi had passed the ball to Ronaldo, you know, they would have scored that goal, but Messi did not pass that because you see it from outside. So sometimes we think that these leaders are, because they are in quotes, they have more degrees than ourselves, they are big, they have experiences. We think that they see everything. No, they don't see everything. Sometimes we need to call their attention to it. And even when they have decided to do these things, many a times they also have not had the capacity or the willpower to do them, right? So if you can build this hotel thing as an advocacy or as an accountability framework, then you make the school administration see the reasons why they need to do it. Maybe they are focusing on building classrooms, or maybe they're focusing on doing something because they feel that thing will generate revenue for them. Maybe they've not seen how this can help generate more revenue for them. And so that's how I want personally to think about accountability, right? Also letting the leaders know what is in it for the entire system, the benefits of what we're advocating for. We're not advocating for our selfish reasons, but we are even thinking about how it will really make them be the best VC. Sometimes people want to look good, right? How will this, if you build a school, you'll be the first VC that built an ultra, you know, they like to call these things ultra or modern. I don't know if you've ever laughed when you've seen this ultra modern thing looking very funny. You know, you see an ultra modern market, and their ultra modern market is looking like ancient of days, right? But sometimes, you know, they like to give, so the first visit that built an ultra modern facility in Nigeria, they just like to have those good names. So sometimes you need to, like I said, remember the person I said that sometimes these people want you to massage their egos. So you need to know how to engage with them in a way that they also feel, oh yes, this will also help my career. This will also help me. So like I said, think about the points, the benefit to the students, the benefit to the leaders, the benefit to the school itself, the benefit to the brand, the benefit to the long-term goals of the school. Sometimes when you reel these benefits out from your place of research, nobody says no to a sense of reasoning, right? So that's the idea. So let me just run through because of this. I wanted to use another example to share. So like I said, break down these goals. This goal now hostel into actionable steps, right? Manageable tasks. First is to study, you know, why are they not renovating these hostels? Are they going to make more money from building new ones than renovating the old ones? Maybe you also need to then start really think about a business model for them. Have schools started complaining of students not coming to school early? Yes, that's a fantastic idea. Now rope this thing to that. So you understood what the problem is. Like, a lot of lecturers have been complaining that students don't come to school early. Even if it might not be the case, but you as a researcher, you are now saying, you think, but probably you're even going to ask 10 students, sample research. Or do you think if you had been living in campus, you come to school early? you know, and you can say, oh, from the 10 students that you asked, 9 says, yeah, if they were leaving, if they had a comfortable post on campus, they'll leave on campus and they come to school early. So this will even mitigate that. So just build up that plan and then split into manageable tasks and anticipate challenges. That will be the next one. I'm saying, but please use my DM and regulate me for time. So I don't talk about this for a long time. So, you know, identify potential obstacles and plan for how to overcome them. There will always be obstacles in advocacy. Always, I tell you. Risk assessment is vital. Sometimes we plan these lofty ideas. It becomes, as I'm sharing it now, it's so simple, right? You know, so beautiful. But when you start, you now see that there's challenges. So sometimes it's good to on time anticipate what the challenges might be so that you develop countermeasures for them, right? And so it's really important to do this. So for example, will your VC be apprehensive? Is he an apprehensive person, right? Do they not listen? The leaders, do they not listen, right? Or do they like to use force? Do they like to ask you out of the office when you come for matters? So you need to list the possible challenges that you might go through, right? And now plan. Would they look at you as someone who is not big enough to engage them? I don't know if I captured stakeholder mapping on this. I don't know if I captured that, but I'll just share this, you know, in passing. One of the things I do personally is to identify power holders, and so you can give it a different number. They're called stakeholders. So you need to map your stakeholders. And I'll give you a clear example. Imagine that the son of the VC is in your school, right? And the son of the VC, you co-opted the son of the VC to be part of your campaign or part of your team. Imagine how the impact will be, right? They will not send security talks. Imagine the son of the president is part of the protesters. Just think about it. And the son of the president is, you know, in Abuja right now, joining the protesters to say we need good government. You know, we need for subsidy to be back. Believe me that nothing will happen in that protest. They will ensure that they are guided to the best of their abilities, right? And so that's what you need to do as well. So sometimes you need to understand power brokers who are the ones who have the influence in school, right? Who holds the influence. So if you discover that, oh, there's an SUG vice president that holds influence, bring them into your team. If you discover, oh, there's this one lecturer that is so powerful, his son is in school, bring him into your team. It takes more time to convince them, but when you convince them, they become valuable, you know, assets to what your project is talking about. So, like I said, if you identify that this plan will face a whole lot of restriction, right? You see that you need to find out, oh, we're bringing in specific people, help meet that need or meet that challenge. All right, let me run because of time. Resource planning, because I have a lot to share, but I'll just do that in a few minutes. Determine resources required to implement these strategies effectively. So what resources do you need? Do you need money? Raise the monies. Do you need more people? People are also resources. In fact, people are the greatest resource, especially when it comes to accountability. Do you need more people? Please, by all means, get more people. And like I said, get people that you need, not just the numbers, right? You need to build the capacity like we're doing right now. Please, with the little that you know, or with the most that you know, rather, build the capacity, tell them what they should do. Oh, don't insult anybody. Don't be angry. Don't be mad. Don't shout. Don't even talk. We only appoint, only Daniel and Barnabas will be the ones talking. We've trained them to talk, is to be there to affirm what they're saying. So sometimes you also need to train. So if training is part of the resources, please, by all pleasure and by all means, get them to be trained, right? I like the chat going on between Aundo and the chat as well. So yeah, thank you as well. I'm reading through. But yeah, it's also good to dialogue and debate. Debate is also fantastic. But debate with because at the end of the idea of a debate is to get the best plan out, right? So how do we get the best plan? So you say, oh, let's meet the visit. Someone will say, oh, that visitor does not have sense. Let's meet the DVC. Let's meet the faculty dean. Blah, blah. So sometimes this debate will make you get the best plan and you can work with it. So next one will be to assign responsibilities. I've already given you an overview of how to develop the strategies. Assign responsibilities. So clearly assign each task to specific individuals or teams. And I'll give you an issue. Next slide, please. And so we had I was part of the Not Young to Run. If you know about the Not Young to Run bill, I know we all lost them. So if you know about the Not Too Young to Run, the bill that reduced the age for young people to run for elective positions. Can I see you type 2 in the chat box? If you know about the Not Young to Run bill, type 2. So I'll just share this. So I was part of the Not Young to Run bill. And one thing that we did in Abia, where I was at the time, was I needed to meet the, thank you, Ondo. I needed to meet the State House Assembly to approve this bill, to consent to this bill. And when I was going to meet with them, many of them didn't even know about the bill. They have not even heard about the bill before, surprisingly. So sometimes you even think that you will be sure their leaders are even more daft than you think that they are. Sorry to use that word, but sometimes you just think, these guys, where are you? What have you been doing? Like, you don't even know about these things. And so I started engaging them, talking to them about these things and all that. But I needed to needed to be sure that the State House Assembly will pass this bill. And I needed all of them to be in the know, because if they don't know, they might just say no. And you are shocked that one person's vote might scatter the whole thing. So, for example, you know the two-third, you're a lawyer, so you know the two-third rule. And so if we have 24 State House members, I need 16 to pass the bill. And if 15 says yes, then everything has spoiled because the bill will not be passed, right? And so I needed to have a strategy. So I had to find and look at how this works. Let me know if you think this is a good strategy. You know, State Assemblies members are representing different constituencies. I had to look for 24 young people who were from these 24 constituencies, who understood their language, who knows these members of State Assembly. It took me time, but I assembled those 24 people, and the plan was simple. Everybody to your state member, right? So if Ondo is from, let me say, Ngurube State Constituency in Benue, Ondo's task was clear. Meet with your state house member, talk to him about the Northern Run deal, and convince him to accept. And we're giving you a placard that says, I support the Northern Run bill, and ensure that your state member takes a picture with that placard. Ensure you find 2 people to go with you from your community, if possible. But you're the main person, but to go to from your own community, and convince the leader to accept that advocacy plan, right? And so, and I gave them, every one of us have 1 week. Monday to Friday, let's strategize and get into the field. The time it would have taken me to go to them one by one probably would have taken 1 month or one month. They are 24, of course. So even if all of them give me appointments, it probably might take me 2 months, right? But in 1 week, we met all of the members of the House Assembly. And guess what? When the bill came to the floor of the Assembly, all of them said, yes, I support. And I'll tell you one thing before I continue. It wasn't that easy. Guess what? One of them that I met personally, the guy that I met personally, told me, I'm not going to agree. So if you want to pursue us, so if you will not be here, because when they talk about youth in government, State House Assembly is the next line of action, right? Because local governments are not effective. Thank God for the local government autonomy that's been that started, taking place right now, but it wasn't effective. It was majorly appointment. So that's the only place that we remember. So you want to displace us? He said no. And when I convinced him, you know what he told me? He said, even if we agree, it is our children we will put there, right? So there are the few who prove stubborn. So I developed an entirely different plan. What did I do? I discovered the people that they listen to. So even in the House of Assembly, there are, like I said, power holders, major stakeholders. And I went to talk to one of them who have agreed earlier. Please, can you call this guy in your office and talk to him? So I was in his office, he called the guy that said no to me before, and he refused to take a picture with the placard. And he spoke to him about it. And guess what? This guy agreed to take a picture with the placard. So that's how all of them accepted. And it was an easy ride in House Assembly because we developed the plan and the strategy and assign responsibilities to everyone that was effective, right? Right, yeah, so I'll just read through. Ensure that everyone understands their role and is accountable for their part in the plan. Very important, everyone understands. If one person goes, the entire plan can scatter. So set timelines, establish clear deadlines. Already told you I set a timeline for 1 week because we didn't have enough time to get the approval because the dates for the assembly, for the hearing was already fixed and we needed to move before then for that time. So establish clear deadlines. You already know school is closing in August. You can't be putting your plan in August ending when school is closing 1st of August. So look at the factors around your timelines and establish a clear timeline. Use milestones to track progress. As at every time that you've gotten that, as at every time, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so as at every time you are making the progress, so as at every time I was getting feedback from every of the team member, oh, have you met your state assembly? What was your report? This one said, oh, fantastic. He says he likes the idea. He took the picture, look at the picture, and we are posting those pictures. So immediately we post those pictures online, the people cannot go against what they've said, what they've supported again. Do you understand? So we use that as a strategy to get them to think beyond verbal commitments in the meeting where two or three are gathered, knowing that if they take a picture with this, it will be posted online and it will be a public support for the campaign, right? That way it was easier to get done. So that's it. Establish clear deadlines, use milestones to track progress, ensure that you are. In fact, when I got to 20 years from I was telling members, I thought, okay, we've gotten this will pass because of course I've used milestones to track our progress and all that. Monitor and evaluate. I'll run because of time, so I can take questions as well. Please track your work, right? Track your work. It's important to track your work so that you don't work and feel that you're working when you're doing nothing at the end of the day. So next slide, let me run. I know you already all know these things already, how to track your work, do an M&E plan. What are we doing? What have we done? What do we need to do? Is what we're doing effective? What are the things we need to change? Do we need to employ a new strategy? Blah, blah, blah. That's what M&E helps you do. M&E helps you understand the progress, the outcome, and helps you strategize for more impact. So adjustments, I've already shared that. Be flexible and ready to adjust. Of course, I don't know it will always happen. And see, my always is in caps. Always happens. What you plan for most times, I've already told you that some people will say no. I have to now think about, oh, who do we now call to talk to them? Some people, so you always have to think about adjustment. So you always need to come back to drawing board with your team from time to time to you know what, let's come back. Sometimes you might make mistakes, and don't beat yourself if you make a mistake. You might not get your research well done. Always come back to the drawing board and say, okay, well, how do we adjust? You have to be flexible. Then reporting, you need to document, you need to communicate, so you need to keep detailed record of actions taken and outcomes achieved. So like I told you, person A did this, the outcome achieved is done. So we had in our office, we had like a board, right? A board with all their names. So, and our plan was on the board, on the board, we had on the number one name, number one, two names. So whenever someone agrees, we'll go there, tick the person's board. So every morning we'll come and check, okay, oh, how are we doing? Oh, we've gotten 13 yeses. We need to do more. We've gotten 12. Where are we with number 13? So it was easy to document, to know, understand exactly what we're doing. Oh, person A said he's not around this Monday, come on Wednesday. So we also scheduled the meetings. So on Monday we have, and because I was the team lead, right, I had to be in multiple meetings. So documentation helped me know where to be at every time. So I'll see that on Monday we have 4 meetings. So sometimes in fact, to be honest with you, and I won't lie, I was not involved, but I was in almost 2/3 of all the meetings, right? Because I understood the plan. Monday, we had to meet house member A, C, Z, right? And I'll try to make sure that the times don't clash. So I'll be in all the meetings. Tuesday, we had to meet house member D, F, Y. So that way it was easy to, even random people in the office could say, okay, I want to follow you to this guy. I know him, he's a friend of my dad. He will listen to me. Okay, because the plan was clear and we're documenting every process of the way, right? Communication too is very important. Regularly update your stakeholders on the progress. Sometimes, and let me tell you what communication does. I think I should start rounding up right now. So what communication does is that once you communicate, once people see progress, people align. Everybody, and that's the truth about a lot of campaigns, everybody wants to be attached to something that is working. People want to put their names on the sense of time. People want to say, oh, you know what? This school SUG block, I was one of the people who advocated for that SUG block, right? People want to be associated with nice things. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. So it's important that we communicate our progress so that people can now align. You see that when you start, your project might not be popular. People might not be interested. But once you start sharing, oh, this person has confirmed, oh, we met with this and you're sharing pictures. People ask, what is it that you're even doing? Let's work with you. Oh, are you serious? Oh, you've been able to make the school agree to be the hostel. Oh, that's fantastic. So people now start, oh, how do I come in? How do I come? Everybody wants to be attached to it. So please amplify. I'm really thankful that the last session was on storytelling. Tell your stories, well. Next slide, please. Let me run. Just give me 5 minutes to just rush this. Yeah, I think I have just 2 more slides or thereabout. So I'll just rush this. I've already shared some of this, so I'll just focus on the facts if need be. So identify your goals and share this. So goal setting, define clear, achievable goals. Ensure your goals are realistic. I've shared this before and attainable within the given time frame. So don't tell the school to build a hostel in 2 months. You know that it's not possible. There's no need for that. So ensure your goals are realistic and attainable to given the time frame. Directly relate goals to addressing the problem, right? Prioritize your goals. Like I said earlier, focus on the goals that will have the most impact. Don't talk about everything. think about the things that are more valuable and they'll even help others get achieved. Ensure they're feasible. Giving your resources and constraints, keyword, right? Ensure they are feasible. You will get demoralized if you go for an advocacy or if you go for an accountability work and you are not listened to, because what you're saying is a wild goose chase, right? So ensure that they're feasible. And imagine getting a borehole in school, right? It will even inspire you to even start thinking about the bigger ones. So ensure that your goals are smart as well. I've talked about collaborative efforts. It's good to engage stakeholders, right? You remember when I said I asked, who do you need to engage first? Do you need to engage the students? Do you need to engage? Because imagine going to talk to the VC about posters when the students are not even aware. So sometimes you even need to say, okay, you know what? First plan. We think that maybe class reps are the most important tools, or we think that the Senate and ACG are the most important tools. Your first plan will be talk to class reps first, bring them together in a hall, and share your idea with them, get their buy-in. It's always good to build consensus because you can't advocate for the people when the people are not aware of the advocacy. So it's always good to build consensus, right? Ensure that the people are attuned to what you're requesting for. So talk to class reps first, and class reps are aware. Then take the step further to maybe this Senate in school, and you're going to the SUG. So you're kind of everyone else. So when the advocacy starts, you have people support. So it becomes a collaborative effort. So once you need something to be done, people are willing to come in to support you as well. So that's for effort. And resource allocation. Ensure your resources are allocated to where there's more, because you always have limited resources for this thing. So instead of saying we are going to rent a bus, for example, and the bus is expensive, why not? Okay, maybe we can take a walk since it's a 5 minutes walk, and we can use half of the money for the bus to provide refreshments for the students going on that advocacy visit or whatever it is. Next slide, please. Let me try to round off. All right, so implementing action plans. I talked about M&E, so let me talk about execution, right? Begin putting the plan into action after to define steps, coordinate, ensure that all team members are clear on their experience and timelines, I've said earlier. Monitor, track progress, always track progress, always evaluate, assess whether your actions are working or not working, and you need to reflect, realign, and strategize onto the next one. So adjust as well. If it's bad, there's something not working, adjust. If you are all male and you think, oh, these guys are not listening to because they need female presence here, bring some female to be there. And just always do an M&E and M&E is not at the end. People think it's at the end of the program. No, M&E is in every stage, every timeline that you have. You need to evaluate. Is this effective? Do we need to change strategy? And reporting as well. I've already shared about reporting. Next slide. I hope I'm almost at the end. Okay, for now, because of time, I wanted us to do an activity, but I think that the examples I've given, because I've been one for time, like 4 minutes ago, I think that the examples I've given will suffice, but I wanted us to do an activity to think about, okay, but you can do this application. That's the idea of giving the session. So think about that problem you want to. I know that we're all change makers. I know that we're all social change actors and agents. So think about that problem you want to solve and think about how do you solve the problem, right? So identify the specific issue related to that problem, do a little bit of research. I talked to you about research so you can understand the issue, as well. Use the step discussed to create an action plan, and then, maybe start or share with your friends. Maybe they are willing to support and work with you on the next slide. All right, so that's the end of it. I'll just use a one-liner. Accountability is fantastic. It's good to contribute to national issues. It's good to contribute to issues that affect not only yourself, but your community. Imagine how you feel if you're the one that brought back a new ultramodern coaster in your school. Imagine you are the one who pushed for renovation of the law faculty. Just imagine how you feel and imagine what it will propel you to do. So I think it's more than necessary as advocates, and as social change agents to really be involved in shaping our community. Really, impact is we need you, and I'm really happy that you guys are law students. You understand it. It's really important that we engage and we become very strong in causing social change. All right, so questions. I see some questions in the chat box. I can't see them again. Were they removed? So help me. Do we have the Q&A? We have breakout rooms. I would have suggested for breakout rooms, but because of time, So can you help me with the question? I think I saw those questions on Aondo. Please help me pronounce your name so I don't know your name, please. And help me with the questions as well.
Okay, so actually the questions are supposed to be for the breakout session. It was a mistake for my name.
Okay, so are we going ahead with the breakout session?
Yes, we are going ahead with them. But that will be after your
Okay, but
question
not
and
with
answer.
me, right? So can I get direct questions for? Hello?
Yes, I think you're done with your presentation, so you just share out the questions from the participants and then respond to them before the breakout session.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So can we get questions? Who has questions? You can unmute or type in the chat box. 1, 2 questions, then we're done, because I know we've shot above time a bit. And also comments and reflections. If you have comments or reflections, please do what to share. Questions, comments, reflections, feedback as well. It's really important that we get feedback from you. So anyone, Victor, Daniel, questions, reflections? Let's hear you at this point. Daniel, Victor, Irene, Tessia, Aisha, Faith, Testimony, Barnabas, Patience, anyone? Blessing. I am waiting for you. So while you generate your questions, if you need to generate them, use the chat box. So if this has been impactful, or if you actually got something value, help me type it in the chat box. 3333 123. If you got value from this, if it has been impactful, if you learned something, type it in the chat box for me. I'll be happy to see that. And I need one person to ask a question or make a comment before I go. So I think then I'll give that as my most responsive audience today. Then do you want to say something or someone?
Okay, sir. Good day, sir. So mine is more of like a reflection. When you talked about the SMART goals and challenges and building the business model, in reflection, in answer to the issue about hostels, I never really saw it in this way. And like you and the former speaker, previous speaker said, it's not always good to antagonize. Um, for instance, with the hostels, the point you made, with their names being engraved in gold or being remembered as them being the pioneers of that project, it goes a long way. So, in advocating for a project, it's sometimes you just have to stoop so low to conquer. So I'm really happy that you made
Exactly.
some of these points. We are grateful, sir. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Spot on, right on point. Any other comments? No one wants to share like Daniel. So on this note, I'll say thank you very much. Thank you to the Noble Africa Foundation. Thank you to my friend and colleague Sohimba. Thank you to Ondo for doing justice to anchoring this session and helping with time management and ensuring that everything is intact. I'll leave you guys to join your breakout sessions. And please, sorry, does someone want to say something? Okay, so please, you can always reach out to me. I'll share my email address. And yes, I'll share a couple of links. I also hope so Himba will share. We have a YDUS. YDUS is Youth Day of Service, where we just give me one moment, please, where we share where we resource young people with small community projects and generating in your community. So please, I'll ask Himba to share the link for the participants so you can actually apply for that. You can get as much as $1,000 to do a project in your community. That's fantastic. We also ensuring that people are actually committing to community development. So I'll share that. I'll ask her to share. We also have the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, where I actually also do work. We have grants for individuals as little as small as $1,000. When the opportunity comes for the next grant cycle, I also encourage people to share. But for you to know, I think you should go to our social handles at ng.youthfats, ng and follow, so that when the policy you can be aware, and you don't need to do anything special. You just need to apply. There are a couple of students across the country who are working on projects that we funded. I think only last 2 weeks, someone in University of Jos, and she's also a law student, started a project in school, and her project is fantastic. I'll just share. Her project is around reviewing the constitution for how SUG elections are done, because she feels SUG elections are not effective. It brings people who are not interested for change, and she wants to work with the school administration to review the policy around SUG elections, and ensure that SUG elections are, are for people who have the right idea to run school. So people are doing a lot of projects around it. So you don't need to even be done with school, and you just need to start looking for opportunities to engage, opportunities to make an impact, and opportunities to be that model and that leader that you want to see. So I'll share and I'll go. Thank you for the extra time. So this is my email in case you need to reach out for anything. Yes, and so I think you have my details. So my name across social media handles are this. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere you want to start me, this is me. And I will now for the NYFF, Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, which I want you to follow, because there's a lot of opportunities that we share every time for young people. Please, Youth Fund, Instagram, and Twitter, Youth Fund. On LinkedIn is Nigeria Youth Futures Fund. Sorry, I'm typing this now. I just want you to leverage this opportunity. So if you even type Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, you'll see our social media handle, you'll see our. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Happy to be here. Happy to share with you, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. So can you wait a bit? We need to take a screenshot.
Okay, sure. I can.
Okay, sure. I can. So I would like every participant to turn on their camera. If possible.
Let me show my camera.
So we're going to take the screenshots in the count of 4. So everyone should screenshot, and please do ensure to post it on your social media and tag Noble Africa Foundation. We are going to make sure we respond to all tags as much as possible. We're going to ensure that we respond to all tags as much as possible. So do ensure to tag us when you make a post. So let's I better close the door. Okay, so let's take the screenshots in 1, 2, 3, and 4. So thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this session. You may turn off your cameras. And so we're very, very grateful for this session. I think it was very insightful for everyone, because personally, I've learned a lot. And I'm going to be on the team. We're having an SUG election very soon. I'm going to be part of the team preparing a manifesto for one of the candidates. So I think some of the things we say today will get into the manifesto, and hopefully it will be executed when hopefully the candidate gets to come on board. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, say participants, we are going to have a breakout session shortly. And in the breakout session, we are going to basically go through 2 discussions on what we have already had today. So I'm going to share the questions in the chat box quickly. They're not very, there are questions on the 2 sessions we have had today. I'm typing out the questions. Yes, and I've typed them out. So I'm going to create a breakout room, and you find yourself in one of those rooms along with other persons. So in a few minutes, what we want you to do is introduce yourself to one another and then ensure that you get to share your opinions on the question. So when we come back to the main session, we'll get one person from each chat room to tell us their opinion or what was discussed in that particular room. Thank you very much. So you're going to see a prompt on your screen asking you to join a room, so you can join it now. Please join one of the join the rooms showing up on your screen. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I want to try to end the breakout rooms and continue briefly before we close. Okay, it will take about 60 seconds for every other person to join us. Okay, I think everyone is back. So thank you very much, everyone. Which of the rooms actually had a conversation? I was in one with Ame. Yes, we actually had a conversation. Aside that, which other room? Okay, it seems that most of us don't really understand how the whole chat room thing works. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this program from day 1, day 2, and day 3. We are very, very grateful for your participation. And of course, if you organize a program, it's not about those organizing, it's generally about the attendance of everyone. Your attendance to it is a show of commitment, and the organizers appreciate this very much. I've sent some links in the chat section. These are links to the social handles of Noble Africa Foundation, the organizers of this program. You can kindly follow with the team to watch out for more opportunities in future and possibly for collaborations and all of that. So I'm very, very grateful for your participation. And there are some few announcements I was instructed to give us, which is this program is actually one that has a certification communities, and the certificates will actually be sent out beginning from the 10th of August. The 10th of August. And we are going to provide the live recordings of all sessions that have been made. All sessions were recorded. You can also find them on the YouTube and Facebook platforms, or also social media handles of Noble Africa generally from tomorrow, the 4th of August. We understand and we did this because a lot of us were unable to catch up with the program due to network issues and all of that. So you can make up through those platforms. Thank you very much for following up on the program. Those are the information we have. So if you have anything you want to say, any feedback or anything before we finally, and there is a link in the comment section for you. You're supposed to fill it with another survey. This is the last one for this program. This is the last survey for the program. So you are supposed to fill it. It's also part of the requirement for the certification. So thank you very much. And it will also be provided on the WhatsApp chat box.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, and I want to, I have been following the foundation for a very long time on Facebook, and I'm actually very passionate, kind of very passionate about some of this work. When I saw some of the work, I wasn't in the States that time, but I came back in the States and I've been following the foundation. Actually, I think I graduated before the I graduated before um, our recent came on board and became our the SU president for BSU. And I've been trying to reach out to him so that reach out to her so that we can. I like participation. I like activism. I'm very passionate about this kind of work. So I would like to leave it to you people that if there is anything like this, I would like to join the collaboration with the organization, either in partnership, or either in any way I can serve. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Sir Barnabas. And of course, the foundation is very, very open to partnerships as well. So that's something we're looking forward to very much in the future. Thank you very much for your positive feedback. So thank you very much, everyone. With this, I believe we have come to the
Thank you,
end.
sir.
So God bless. You may exit the call. And you can also watch out for all the slides. We'll send them to the WhatsApp group.
All right, I'll be expecting. I really need them, the slide and the audio recordings. Okay.
We are done for the program. You may exit the call. Thank you. Hello, Blessing and Victor. Hello, Blessing and Victor.